Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/achieveradio.
Sometimes your body not feel so fine, head hanging low most of the time. Got that meat sack not doing good, head hanging low, don't feel like you should. I talk to the Carolyn. What? Talk to the Carolyn. Talk to the Carolyn. Talk to the Carolyn.
Welcome everybody to Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. It is Monday evening, May 8th. We're happy to have you with us. 2017 is the year, and we are, doing well so far, considering the first part of this year has absolutely positively flown by, reinforcing our position that there is no time. But we're happy to have you here with us for this evening for what we would call 2 hours. And we are thrilled that we're having Dr. Carolyn Dean with us again this evening. And every single week it is an absolute joy to work with this amazing doctor. And I have to say, I was thinking the other day, so many people are worried about fake news. And I will tell you, they should have a category now for fake medical news, because every single day in customer service we get bombarded with the most ridiculous commentary and questions and inquiries about what people are asserting all over the internet, what these pop-up experts have to say about different products and supplements and what your body needs and doesn't need. And this morning somebody wrote me and talked to me about how a float tank was the equivalent of using Remag for magnesium supplementation therapy based on what they were told by someone. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, there is no fake medical news going on here. There's only one thing. This is raw, hardcore truth going on. And Dr. Carolyn Dean has been in the forefront of health issues for over 40 years and telling the truth, and the very basic truth of the way our bodies are designed to function according to how they were developed and how they interact with nutrients and minerals, and how the perfect design of the body is inclined to heal itself. Very simply, she's been telling this truth for a long time. Nothing fake here. And she has been telling the truth in her books. She's been telling the truth in her videos, of which she has many. She's been telling the truth on her radio program for the last 7 years, and she will tell the truth to anybody who will sit still. So we just want you to know tonight you're going to get the real thing. You're going to get straight up, high-integrity information, no fake news here, no fake medical reports here. And Dr. Carolyn Dean, a woman of incredible integrity who holds a medical license from Dalhousie Medical School. She also holds not a medical license from the school. She attended school there. She's got a medical license in California. She's a graduate of the Ontario College of Naturopathic Medicine. She served on their board of directors for many years, and she is a publisher of so many books. She has an international reputation, and we're so grateful to have her here with us again this evening. Welcome, Dr. Carolyn Dean.
Yay, Jenny. Thank you. Yes,
You're welcome.
I'm very, very welcomed by your words. And I don't know, I just have to say this. It's something kind of off topic. You know our customer who makes lights?
Yes, I do.
You do. Well, she sent me another light. She sent me a heart light, and now she sent me another light, and it is just gorgeous. This woman who was on the brink, she's out there lighting up the world, making these incredible lights and lamps. And I guess if people are interested, they could get in touch with us, and we could give out her Facebook page, because it's just amazing what she does. She glues hundreds of colored stones on a glass vase, and then inside the vase, she puts these little strings of like baby Christmas tree lights. What would you call them? I mean, I've never seen them before. So, and they come with a battery pack. So you just turn on the light inside this little vase, and it shines through all these colored stones or crystals or whatever you have. A heart. I sent Ginny a heart one, and I sent another one of our associates, Ginny. I think it was a cobalt. No, you had the cobalt blue light. Yeah, purple heart lights, and they're just amazing. So anyway, I'm all thrilled about this, and she's probably listening, but so hopefully she won't be too swamped with orders. So that's my day. I'm here just basking in the glow of getting gifts and having a great time with just working out what people really need to balance their bodies. And actually, it's helpful, this light coming at this time, because, boy, I've had quite a week. I had to quickly do my continuing medical education credits, and which means I had to do 50 hours of online education credits. You know, I have to read a study and then answer questions on the study. Of course, it did not take me 50 hours. But what I learned was the topic of my last blog, who voted for biologics. So what's happened is drugs are going by the wayside. There's so many side effects. So they in medical research have created a whole new system of drugs. They're biologics manufactured in a living system, in cells of a plant or animal or a microorganism. And what they are, and you can read this, just Google biologics in medicine. And most biologics, I made a typo there, are very large, complex molecules or mixtures of molecules. Many biologics are produced using recombinant DNA technology. So they're throwing DNA and probably RNA into the mix, and that's what messed up the vaccines when the vaccine would start grabbing onto the DNA or RNA of the animal cells that they were using, and we think that's part of the problem. People aren't really talking about that, though. Chemical drugs usually have well-defined structures, and they're very small molecules. And a finished drug can be analyzed to determine all its various components. By contrast, it's difficult and sometimes impossible to characterize a complex biologic by testing methods available in the lab. And some of the components of a finished biologic may be unknown. So they don't know what they make, and they don't know what they're giving people. The living system used to produce biologics can be sensitive to very minor changes in the manufacturing processes. So small process differences can significantly affect the nature of the finished biologic, and most importantly, the way it functions in the body. So they really don't have a clue what they're giving a person, even why they're giving it, and what the reaction is going to be. I mean, if you do a biologic this week and then you think you're getting the same one in 2 weeks, it could be completely different, and your body could react to it differently. And there's, if you look up biologic and side effects, you can see some pretty horrible side effects and pictures that are starting to turn up. And yeah, I just asked the question, how do you feel about taking drugs that are so complex that they can't even be identified after being manipulated inside other living organisms, using recombinant DNA, and with no clue how they might function in the body, where small change can occur in the dozens of steps to produce it? Think Frankenstein's monster. And then I this past week too, we had many emails, as we always do, but some of them really stood out. One, and I put this in the blog because I say, we're already dealing with so many side effects. How can we stand to go into this biologic field? And actually, they do say vaccines are biologics, because they're made in infected monkey cells, monkeys who've had viruses. But anyway, that's one aspect of the whole vaccine process, where they are grown on infected animal cells. And they have to be infected cells, or the viruses wouldn't take hold in a healthy animal. So this one customer sent an email. She said, my 39-year-old daughter started taking Remag approximately 3 weeks ago. I've been telling her since I started on it over a year and a half ago that this was so necessary for her body. However, she is on over 24 prescription medications, and she just did not want to add anything else. But she's currently drinking 2 1/2 teaspoons of Remag daily. She has been bald for several years now, and in the 3 weeks that she's been drinking Remag, she's grown peach fuzz all over her head, and we are elated. So there's how things can turn around. There's how the body just wants so desperately to have some good building blocks. And then here's another horror story. And you can read this blog at drcarolyndean.com, or if you're signed up for my newsletter, you've already gotten it. And I'll try to go through it quickly. So this woman's husband had a heart attack a little over a month ago. I think he's 69. And a very young, aggressive cardiologist put him on a beta blocker, a potassium-sparing diuretic that makes your potassium stay in your body, 2 blood pressure drugs, and 2 blood thinners. He's already diabetic and asthmatic and takes 3 drugs, so he's on 9 drugs. He went for a checkup this Friday, and we told the doctor all my husband's side effects, and he's bleeding from his gums and his nose. He's dizzy, he's restless legs, horribly constipated. His kidneys are losing function after 1 month. So this is what happens after 1 month on a handful of drugs. What happens after 3 weeks on a teaspoon of Remag a day, 300 milligrams? This other woman's hair starts growing back. The doctor says he realizes my husband is having side effects, but because of his afib, he's afraid to take him off anything yet for fear he will have a stroke if his pulse goes too high. It was high in the doctor's office, but it's not at home. It's just he's nervous around the doctor. So, on and on it goes, where this situation where, these young, scared doctors, they don't know what to do with all the different drugs that are around. They don't research them. They don't look at the side effects. They just open the recipe book and give the drugs and are afraid to do anything else. This woman then said she'd gotten over, I think, ventricular tachycardia with magnesium 20 years ago, so she knows magnesium is important. Now, I was really concerned when I got this email through customer service. So I wrote back and I said, because his potassium is rising and she thinks that's why his AFib is getting worse. And I said the cause of it is a spironolactone, potassium-sparing diuretic that prevents the body from losing potassium, so it builds up. That needs to be replaced or, stopped. And then I told her I'm shocked that he's on 2 blood thinners, and that's why he's bleeding. I was very concerned about him bleeding in other places, too, with that much blood thinner. So it just is so upsetting, these stories that we hear in customer service from people. And of course, I end up by saying that total body reset is how you'll get healthy and stay healthy. Otherwise, when you go to the doctor the next time, you may be given a drug that's a biologic and you wouldn't even know it, and the doctor won't even know it either. So I'm going to stop in that rant and see if Ginny has anything to say before I move on to more blogs.
Well, I do have something to say, and I have a confession. I read the blog like 3 times, and I still can't figure out what a biologic is. I didn't understand. Right. Is it like a virus, kind of like that's supposed to do something?
And that, I do not know. Yeah, you're right. There's no way of knowing what it is that they're creating.
Wow. So,
wow. I don't know.
That's crazy.
Maybe it's an enzyme, or when I was doing the test, they would just rattle off these strange names for something that would do something in the body, and it's a very good point. I really don't know. You can't say it's a beta block or they don't even know how any of the drugs work. Let's just say that. But now we don't even know what any of the drugs are.
It's weird to think that they could do that because they're always so wound up about predictable outcomes. How can you have a predictable outcome if you don't know what the thing is to begin with? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, what's interesting about when I was first started into the biologics reading, they went on and on about how the FDA is, regulating it. Every step is monitored, and there's dozens of steps in producing one of these things. And you know how stupid people are. They're going to make mistakes every step along the way, no matter how much the FDA says you have to document what you do. So instead of being able to say what it does or any accuracy or what it is, they're just really going down the compliance road. Oh, we're so compliant with all what the FDA wants us to do with these things that are so out of our control that we're going to think that we're in control.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, it's bad. I have no way of even describing what they'll do or what's going to happen with them because when it's like they're taking enzymes, or they're taking biological material and assuming it does something in the body from their research. Oh, the body's, this certain enzyme does this. Oh, well, let's take this enzyme and make lots of it and see what it does to this disease. So they're taking a body function, trying to mimic it, trying to reproduce cells, and they have to grow all these enzymes, let's call them. And that's why they use animal cells or living cells so they can grow them. And then they have enough to make a drug and give you the drug. Often it's an injectable, so you really have no way of getting it out of your body once it's injected in you. And then you're stuck with it. And see, what'll happen, as happens with every new, quote, medical breakthrough, there'll be the positive placebo effect where, doctors, by the hundreds of thousands are learning about this and going to their conferences and they're all excited about it. And when they give this drug to their patient, their excitement shows, and then the patient picks up the placebo effect from it. So we aren't even going to know for a long time what they really are doing to the body, except for all the side effects.
Wow. Oh, my goodness gracious. Just another thing, right? It's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I like what you said, the hubris, because that's what it is. It's unbelievable. Okay, and did you have another blog that you did? Because you wrote some great blogs this week, right?
Well, I want to get to your blog, but yeah, I did. I did one called "The Perfect Stress Storm," and that was about. This book I've been reading, The Great Cholesterol Con. It's taken me a while because it's a dense book, and Dr. Kendrick makes a superior case for the fact that cholesterol does not cause heart disease, but then he's decided that it's stress that causes heart disease, and he gives his reasons, and they all make sense. That under stress, you're really promoting your cortisol, and your body's battling this cortisol with high levels of insulin, and the cortisol gives you a lot of fat buildup around your truncal obesity, and it affects your sympathetic system, where he gives an interesting description of your sympathetic nervous system and your parasympathetic nervous system kind of warring with each other, which makes your intestines kind of not know what to do. If you're eating food and your body's under stress, then the food doesn't get digested properly, and that's what I've always said is part of the reason for yeast overgrowth. So he makes a great case for stress being so problematic, but then he just, says, like most people, take a walk on the beach, do some meditation. And I just jump in and say, no, take Remag. Remag is the cure to stress. We know that. We all know that. So he's got this great evidence about stress, but then leaves people high and dry, because everybody knows that they're stressed, and everybody has tried to deal with stress and get more sleep or whatever, but not enough people know that you start by taking Remag to relax your muscles, to support your adrenal glands, to stop the triggering. So to me, it's another example how these doctors, they can have great ideas, and you would almost think that Dr. Kendrick is like an alternative doctor because he's talking about stress, but he has no idea about the nutrient aspect of the body. It's just such a blindness of medicine that it just is frightening, completely frightening. The other blog, I don't know if we might not have gotten to it last week, but I probably wrote it the week before. Use Remag, not statins. A bit of that probably came out of my reading The Great Cholesterol Con by Dr. Kendrick, but this one I got from a Medscape article where they were talking about the pros and cons of calcium cardiac CT scans, where they scan the heart and the arteries and even the carotids for calcium. If your heart arteries, your coronary arteries have calcium in it, then they say, well, you're at risk for heart disease. And they put you on statins instead of putting you on magnesium. So they come walk right up to the elephant in the room, and they just swerve away from it. And I just think it's really important for people to, be on their toes, keep looking at what we're doing here on the radio show, the archives, the RNA Reset website, trying to give you information about your health, because, boy, are you going to be disappointed if you try to do your own research with people who, like the elephant metaphor of the blindfolded person who's examining an elephant, and they haven't got a clue what the whole picture is because they're just feeling the leg or the trunk or the tail or the ear, and there's no way they really know what's going on. And one thing that you will know with our information is that we try to give the whole picture. I've been around long enough that I know the whole picture. I've always kind of looked at the whole picture. And as far as I'm concerned, it's still mineral deficiencies and yeast overgrowth that we have to be most concerned about. And the concern does not have to turn into any fear, because we do have answers. So that those were my other blogs. Anything before I go to your awesome blog, Ginny?
No, but I just like your closing statement is you don't have to be concerned about it. You have to just know that we've got solutions. And that's one thing that I find, too, is that these folks are just writing all this, generating all this content, absolutely no solutions, none. It's just crazy, and putting people in more fear and confusion, unreal. Ugh.
Yeah,
okay.
And all the reports I read, I had to read 200 studies, or 200 articles on studies, I should say, and then answer questions about them. And it was all like, this study shows a 2% improvement with this drug compared to that drug, so this is the best drug. 2%. They're just playing with numbers, people.
I know. I remember that one article I read where it was they spent $1 billion in cancer research to develop a drug that extended a person's life one day. And I'm not saying every day isn't precious, but really $1 million to extend life one day. How about curing it? How about like getting rid of the stuff? No. Well, we are very impressed with this drug. It extends the life expectancy by one day. I was shocked. It's shocking.
Yeah, it makes your mouth just go into such shock you can't even express it.
Really.
But okay, Ginny, you wrote such a great blog. Hopefully you have it in front of you. Can you read it out, because it's a personal statement? I'd like you to read it out if you have it there.
Okay, all right, I can do that. This happened. Yep, I'll read it. And I'll just do the condensed version. But I went out of town this weekend, and I went for my honey's little daughter's graduation. We were over on the coast of Carolinas, and I spent some time with these lovely women, one of whom happened to be Savannah's grandmother. And she is 80 years old. She acts like she's 50. She ran her own boutique for many years. She's extremely stylish. She's very accomplished. And she has 13 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren, and she travels, and she's very involved with her family, and she really has very little issue in her life other than this thing called afib. And she's like, do you know anything about that? And I'm like, oh, my Lord, right? And so we started to talk about it, and her afib got so bad a couple years ago, she had a cardioversion, and it didn't take. So she had to go back, and she had to have another one that did take. And, of course, once that happened, they did, the trifecta, their 3 favorite drugs, including flecainide, which is a fluoride drug that binds magnesium, and it exacerbates a magnesium deficiency condition, right? So it's like you're already low on gas, and then this just drains more gas out of your tank. So I was just like, oh, my gosh, and I know how much the kids love their grandmother. So, of course, we can't have her, dying on our watch because of afib for crying out loud, or flecainide. So I'm like, no, my God, you have to use Remag right now, instantly. And I started talking to her about it, and she got excited, because she was just like, really? I mean, really? And she's like, I can't stand this drug. It wears me out. It's very tiring, on. And I was like, well, you shouldn't be taking it in the first place, because that's not going to solve the problem. And so while we were talking to her, and, here she's very overwhelmed by all this information, because she's never considered half of this. She's not looking for a natural cure. She's not looking for an alternative. She's just in the medical model, and she's just going to the doctor, and she's just doing whatever, and not liking her lot in life very much about it. And I'm telling her about all this stuff, and she's a little overwhelmed, and I'm like, how do I make this simple for her? And all of a sudden I just said, I said, what if you had scurvy and you went to the doctor like in the old-timey days, and you went to the doctor and they told you that you had a disease, and then they put you on a drug and to, tell you that this was going to cure you, but it didn't cure you. And how could it possibly cure you? Because scurvy is a vitamin C deficiency, not a disease. And when I said that, she just went, oh, like, oh my God. And she saw it, just like the whole thing flashed through her brain. And she was just like, that's it. And of course she's not going to take the Flecodane. We never recommend that or anything. But we trotted right back to the little place where we were staying, and I whipped my Remag bottle out and put the sea salted water in it. And she started drinking it, and the next day I saw her at breakfast, and she had her little bottle with Remag in it, and I packed her off with my half-consumed bottle that I travel with, and off she goes, and she's ordering her own, and it was just beautiful. But really, honestly, what I said in the conclusion of the blog was somewhere along the line we've gotten our X's and O's mixed up, and we have made diseases out of nutritional deficiencies. And I really believe that, Carolyn, your work is so important because you are making it simple for people and making it so clear that you do not have a disease, you have a mineral deficiency, especially when you're dealing with something like afib that is such a clearly a magnesium deficiency. No matter how complicated it becomes, however long-standing and complicated it becomes, and what it accelerates into, especially after they put you on all these drugs, but at the core, the foundation of what it is a mineral deficiency. And I really hope someday, and I think in part, well, not in part, I think most significantly because of your work, because nobody else is concentrating their effort to the degree that you have. You have a focus on this particular issue that is so profound and it's so precise, and it's gaining momentum. The energy's behind it, and the groundswell of, agreement is starting to happen. And, we see the testimonials coming through all the time, and I really do feel that this is going to flip. And one of these days, everybody's going to get it, and they're going to be like, oh, my gosh. And, let the liberation begin. It'll be like V-Day, and everybody will be running around dancing in the streets and drinking their Remag, because that's what we're dealing with here, is a whole industry that's medicating people over something that's so simple.
Brilliant. Yes.
Hey guys. The big picture you didn't mention, about it, is more and more the information people come across on their computers or digital iPads and stuff is not talking to people. This is why it gets more incomprehensible and more ridiculous, and you keep citing absurd stories in the media from absurd information sources. The big pictures, you got to start realizing this is technology talking to itself and not human beings. That's the big picture point. Shocking as it is, that's what's happening. So we're going to get more and more crazy information from the alternatives, from the mainstream, and from the naysayers, and they don't realize they're within that environment. Somehow, Carolyn, you're offering information that's not a machine talking to machine.
Right. Yeah, because they're all about their algorithms and their percentages, and they just have given up trying to think about the body as a living organism. They're just trying to treat the body like a machine.
And the next level is the endormine, because it's making humans alienated from the information process. It's getting desperate to get attention. So they brought in what's called fake news as a new meme to make people be obsessed with looking at what's fake or not, or to just look at the environment to witness a ridiculous fake news story. So it's going to get even crazier. There's going to be a new syndrome that comes about from this Android meme panic in itself about what to tell humans and how to hide the fact it isn't talking to them. So it's getting artificial intelligence has been around for 20 years. You know, it's 2001, Space Odyssey, where the computer turns on the spaceship and attacks the astronauts. That's what we've got here.
Yeah, and we often don't know it until we see it in the rearview mirror. But people are acting like automatons.
See, you monitor everything. I think you do it too much. But nobody has the expertise you have of looking over the whole view, because you've been doing it. You get an edge on it because you can look at it with a confidence of that you have a solution for it. So you're seeing the horror more and more in most people. So they should, really realize that they got to listen to you, because you've broken through the delusion.
Mm-hmm.
And you are even getting upset. Like you have me here to point out, when it's gone overboard. And I'm telling you, it's gone overboard. So back off. Do not read so much, Carol. Just type.
Yeah, I had to do those 50 hours of reading all 200. It was too much.
It was too much to see what we did. And you were, so in simple words, why do they think you're saying biologics is an idea that floats because they have a theory that if a person's missing some enzymes, if they give you some enzymes that they've manufactured, that should help. Is that the basic point? Whatever you're missing, they can make it and give it back to you?
No, it's not even that. It's something that they figure can manipulate the body's symptoms.
Yeah, well, that's saying they can do something. Where do they get that knowledge? Have they got studies to show that it does manipulate the way the product intends it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Ginny's right. You read this stuff, you read my blog, and you still don't know how they work, because when you Google it, all you see is things like how do drugs and biologics differ. They act like they're out there, they're being used, and how are they different from other drugs? And they really do not say what they do. They're using it to
okay, so that is the Android meme. That's the Android meme, making stuff for machines and pretending it's human connected by calling it biologics.
Mm.
So it's machines making substance for machines. So that's how absurd it's got.
Yeah, here's another one. Understanding biologics, how they differ from drugs and why they cost more. And then they go into they've revolutionized the treatment of such chronic diseases as rheumatoid arthritis, psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis, Crohn's, multiple sclerosis, used in cancer. And, they've been around for a long time, it says. But see what they're doing. You look at this, the rheumatoid arthritis and Crohn's, all these so-called autoimmune diseases. Well, they stem from nutritional deficiencies. So, like Ginny said, they're treating the nutritional deficiencies with these more expensive drugs that didn't react to the chemical drugs. And I don't want to talk about it anymore. I think it's just
okay. Well, here's the pattern I get from it. What is human intelligence? Largely, it's memory, so that you get up in the day and you remember how to do something and you do it again. So just that simple function. You look at computers that know way more because they have data on you going back to before you were born. So it's intelligent. It remembers everything about you that you don't even remember yourself. So look at that start happening, 30 years ago. So look at artificial intelligence as the simple functions that the brain makes a human. The machines are way beyond that. They're superhuman. If you just look at our natural abilities with our memory and whatever else our thinking mechanisms are, it's already being done by the data sphere around us. So we've got super intelligent things talking to other things and not humans. It's not an exaggeration to say machines become alive, because what makes a person alive? You talk to them, they respond. They remember what your words mean, and then they say something about it. Well, the computers are talking to us day in, day out all the time.
Yeah, and let me just give an example, and then we'll move on. The other day I took my iPhone along with me. I never use it, but I wanted to take some pictures. So I had it turned on, and I walked down to the beach and back, and then I opened it up, and there was a little icon flashing, so I clicked on it. And here was some sort of health app for walking. and it had monitored my every step I took and told me I'd walked, 4.5 miles or whatever. And I thought, oh, my gosh, this is the machine taking over my
perceptions. Your
without
perceptions.
my even wanting it to. And
Yeah.
it's doing that on so many levels. It's hard to describe, but actually, if you tune into Bob's radio shows on
Wednesday and Sunday.
Wednesday and Sunday on Achieve Radio,
at night,
we talk about these things, and it is fascinating, and it is important that we just sort of consider what's going on. We don't have to do anything about it more than just taking the products, but these things are important to consider and not to get too wrapped up in.
And they even have in semiology, which is study of signs, another variation of semiology, semiotics, they have a term, asignifying semiologies, or signifying. That means like amoral means not involved with morals, pro or con. Asignifying is what they're saying the computerized environment is. It's not talking to you. It's asignifying with other machines. That's what they actually have this in sociology today.
Yeah, well, Bob, come up with examples. Not right now, but come up with examples, because I think you're going over everybody's head. The example of the iPhone is what I came up with. People have to have examples so it comes home to them. Just like, and I'm going back to Ginny now, just like Ginny says, magnesium deficiency is the equivalent of scurvy. Now, we'll find better words for this. Don't be surprised if you start getting all kinds of emails from Chad about the magnesium deficiency is the new scurvy, because that does hit home, getting back into our physical bodies. So, thank you, Bob. We're going to move on now, okay?
I don't know. I'm reluctant to stay. The Android meme is the better scurvy,
I know.
Newer scurvy.
Stop it. Stop it. Mute yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Bob's shows go for like 9 hours, so a mere couple of minutes is nothing for him.
This is sad.
Hey, we'll get Ginny to read, or I'll read this question. Ginny's going to answer a question about RNA drops. So I think this person sent this in a week or two ago, and I answered the first part of her question, but then she had this question. Regarding the RNA drops, I wanted to learn more about them and was reading about them on your blog, where I read that the eye cell occurs in nature and that it appeared throughout history. Can you elaborate more on this and how the eye cell occurred in nature? Since RNA drops work on preventing the mind from interfering with cell replication, I was wondering if you think there are other ways of preventing the mind and thoughts from interfering with cell replication. How did people throughout history separate mind from interfering with body? So, Ginny, Rob, do you want to tackle that one?
Well, the eye cell occurring in nature is just what it says. I mean, that's just as basic as it is. That's just like saying dandelions occur in nature. They do. They're out there. The eye cell is in nature. It's out there. And the question is, how do you bring it into be able to work with it? And the way that we work with it is through a germinated barley sprout process. So in that process, it builds a certain kind of reaction within the thing that Dr. Dean has developed. It's very proprietary. It's not discussed about in great detail. But the point is that whole process actually brings this into a position where it can be harvested, and then it can be captured and it can be used. So just like a dandelion catcher, let's just say, except it's eye cells. So that's kind of the basic of that. And then with the RNA drops, what we found, and we found this back in 2013 when Dr. Dean did a health practitioners conference in Madison, Wisconsin. And what they did was they took the RNA drops and they put them into what's called a Zyto machine. And a Zyto machine is an FDA-approved machine, and it is very precise. And what it does is it scans your body using a hand cradle, and then it displays the out-of-range stressors that indicate general patterns of disease. And so you go through this like little scanny thing, and it prints this thing out and shows the out-of-range stressors. And then what it does is you take the RNA drops, and the practitioners there all participated, and they took the drops, and then they went back through, and they did the scan again, and all of those out-of-range stressors were balanced. Okay, that's too much for just one thing to do. It's not, it has to have some kind of an interrelatedness with the mind. And what we think about it is that interrelatedness with the mind is the homeopathic or the frequency or the resonance part of the RNA drop. So they do have a frequency with them. We call it the frequency of ascension, or a heightened awareness and a position beyond the mind. And that frequency seems to be able to balance all these out-of-balance stressors within the body. So we're not calling it a cure. We're not saying that it's permanent. We're saying that in that moment that's what happens. They scan the body. They look for the stressors. You take the RNA drops. You wait a few minutes. You go back. You scan again. The stressors are now back into balance. That has to be an interrelationship with the mind and the beingness of the person. So we have those kinds of things that we rely on, and plus the testimonials of all of our customers and our own personal experience to kind of bring into our warehouse, so to speak, of an archives of anecdotal information about the RNA drops, and that's why we explain them the way that we do. Does that make sense?
Oh, that's beautiful. Brilliant. Yeah, I keep forgetting all these little, studies and research bits that the drops have gone through. And, when we were just distributing the RNA drops, we got incredible stories. But for us, we're bundling the products now because we know it's the synergy and the combination of all of them that really have the most effect. So now we really don't know kind of what's doing what in a sense, but people will tell us, well, I'm on the Remite and Remag and Realign, and I wonder about this and that, and we will just say, well, you get on the RNA drops and the restructure to get that aspect of what we offer, the kind of the magic aspect, the the biologic aspect. I mean, if anybody has a biologic, we do. So and as this person said, as she'd read, that they prevent the mind from interfering with negative cell replication. They seem to work at a level of the RNA through chromosome 14. And again, we can't prove that yet. At a certain point when we have our $1 billion, maybe we'll do that research. But in the meantime, it's a safe, non-gluten product that people can use, and you can have the benefits of it like so many other people have.
Right. It's pretty good stuff, and I know that we have one of our customers, and I'm going to actually try to find it. This is our good customer down in New Zealand who's actually listening tonight, and she sent us a great testimonial about her experience with the drops, and she was just like, does this happen for everybody? Because I am, just experiencing a level of joy and a sense of well-being that, I just didn't even think was possible because she hasn't felt well for so long. So that's one of the things that the RNA drops do. They seem to be able to elevate, we call it elevating the mood. And a lot of times one of the things that it says on our website is amplify your happiness, and we actually write it on all of our boxes that we send out internationally, just as our kind of international goodwill gesture. Amplify your happiness, announcing that the drops are on the way. And they really do seem to be able to elevate mood, and I would imagine it's because, in part, of this situation of balancing these stressors and having this resonant, this harmonic, so to speak, or this resonance. And now we're in the 131st, I think is what we just got, generation. And all of the generations previously are all included in that, current formula. And I know back in the day, I think we started this radio show, Carolyn, when we were on like generation 18 or something like that, and people started to have questions then. And that's how the radio show got started, was people wanted to know more about the RNA drops and what to expect. And so we started doing question and answers. And I am thinking in the beginning, and also Melody Rose helped me with this, we used to actually kind of be able to track what was going to, like generation to generation, people would report different phenomena. There'd be kind of like a little ripple effect. And then, like you said, now we've gotten so busy and it's grown so much and we're bundling the products, it's kind of hard to tell what's happening. But there are some predictable things that still happen with the drops. And I think, elevating mood, clearing the mind, definitely. And then the biological part is all involved with the priorities of the body, what it wants to balance itself and make its own priority. And we do have a lot of great testimonials consistently about what happens when people use them in their mouths.
Very good.
Yep.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, I didn't have much.
Okay, now we do have one of our favorite people holding in the whole wide world, so let's put her on the phone, and I'll just let everybody know that tonight, if you'd like to talk with Dr. Dean, you've got to call into the station, and that number is 602-666-6027. Again, that's 602-666-6027, and when you call in, you've got to hit *5 on your keypad. That is going to raise your hand in the studio and let me know you have a question or comment. Otherwise, you just sit on mute indefinitely so that you can hear the show. We don't pick up any background music, any background noise. So I do see a few hands raising. Perfect. So again, *5 on your keypad will put you live in my studio, and then I'll call on you by your area code. But first, we're going to go to our dear friend, area code 310, Ruth. Hello, Ruth.
Hello. Hi, Ginny. Hi, Dr. Carolyn. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Ruth. We've put you right up at the top of the hour. Did you have a quick question, or do you have a long one that will go over the hour?
Well, I think it's the medium length. Are we at the top of the hour?
Yeah, we have a couple minutes. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I've been sick for it's going into the 7th month. And it started with a severe chill, very severe chill. And I've been coughing and sneezing and told that it is a viral sinus infection. And nothing has helped. Meanwhile, I had 2 basal cells removed from my nose. What a thing to do. I can't look at a camera. And, okay, and now I'm told that I wrote to you, or I wrote Melody Rose about the teeth problem, and I can't figure out how to use the Remag on my teeth. It seems to just wash away right away with all that saliva. That's a question. Another question, let me tell you what she said to me today. This is a periodontist, that it is not gingivitis. I said, why is that how you solve gingivitis, by pulling out my teeth? She said it's, because I told her absolutely not. It's not gingivitis. It's periodontitis number 3, which is moderate periodontitis. And my bone, whatever is the bone in the gum, whatever that's called, is deteriorating. I didn't like that.
Right. Yeah, I'm just looking up periodontitis. A serious gum infection that damages the soft tissue and destroys the bone. So that's what she's saying.
Yep. And she showed me a model, of a typical what it happens. Ooh. And I don't feel it. I do.
Right.
Have been deteriorating.
Okay. Well, what my dentist says about that, he's a holistic dentist, and he says that the infections in the gums can be very strong. Like they're called spirochetes. And
I know what those
the
are.
best treatment is ozone, some forms of ozone.
I've been trying to find somebody to do that.
Well, you're in LA, aren't you?
Yes.
Well,
can't think of the word. I'm having a senior moment. What's the word? Ozone is part what?
An antioxidant.
Yeah, but
you can. We know people in LA. We'll see if
ozone is a gas, Ruth. Ozone is a gas. It's yeah. Okay.
That much I know, and I have used an ozone machine years ago with the when I was in the middle of having to get rid of multiple chemical sensitivities. And
hold on, Ruth. We've got to go to the break, so I'm going to put you on hold. You hang in there and give us 2 minutes, and we'll be right back, and we'll continue the discussion. This is Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on Achieve Radio. Hour 1 wrapping up, right back with Hour 2 after this message.
Dean, along with host Ginny Gunther, after this brief station break. You can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com.
AchieveRadio.com. Are the RNA drops something that I could share with other people? Is that something that would really help them shift? Because it seems to me that
it could, but it's not your job. See, you could. Here's how to help your friend. You could, but it's not your job. It could help them, but that's not your job. If you do it because you want to do it. If you sleep with them, get it because you want to have an orgasm, not to please and delight them. As long as it's pleasing and delighting you, we'd say tear it up. Yes. But don't do it for the wrong reason, because then all of a sudden you'll just make a movement where we have people giving up their life's work to buy drops to give to help the poor, Lord, suffering cats. We've ascended them, and they're living forever, and they're miserable forever. Live a good life. That's all you can do. You live a good life. Get fat. Get happy. Get yourself where you are just supple in every way. Let your body come into its place of power and shine. Live a good life.
Is that Ion?
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AchieveRadio.
Sometimes your body not feel so fine, head hanging low most of the time. Got that meat sack, not doing good. Head hanging low, don't feel like you should. I talk to the Carolyn. What? Talk to the Carolyn. Talk to the Carolyn. Talk to the Carolyn.
Welcome back, everybody. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. Hour 2 this Monday evening, May 7th, May 8th, 2017. Happy to have you back with us. Welcoming back Dr. Dean and her guest this evening, Ruth, who is calling in from Los Angeles, talking about her issues with her gums and thinking about considering ozone therapy. Our good friend, I'm going to put you guys back on the line. Carolyn, also I wanted you to know that Julie, our good friend Julie in Texas, said she was a hygienist, and hydrogen peroxide and baking soda along with B-complex on C would also help her get better, but the RNA drops stopped all of her teeth and gum problems. So there's something to think about too, Ruth.
Yeah, because, Ruth, when you said earlier you're having trouble figuring out how to keep the remag on your gums, what we had told you is to put Renew on your gums, and all you do is put a drop or two on your finger and rub it around your gums. It's going to wash off, but some of it's going to get into the area. I mean, that's all you can do. that it's just simple because it's very powerful. And a lot of people will tell us that the swishing the RNA drops around in the mouth and then rubbing Renew on the gums will really help. And what I'll do about the ozone, we have a couple of customer service people in and around the LA area, and we'll see if they can tell us a holistic dentist who does ozone therapy. What they can do is that
oxygen treatment, oxygen per se, is something that is not allowed. And it's so stupid it's hard to believe. But forms of ozone I can get hold if I know where to go. If I know what to do. I've been searching because it's been bothering me for quite a while that I need more oxygen. And I went to one of the doctors, I'm a pulmonologist, and he tested me, and he went and got another little oxygen supply thing and worked on it with me. He said, you see, you've got just as much as you need, and it's not true. So this must be it.
Yeah, this is a different thing. So we'll just pool our resources and see if we can find some names for you and see if we can narrow this down. But, do the Renew, and you have been doing these things, so maybe you do need something extra. Have you thought of this?
I wrote you the truth that I do them about 80% of the time. I don't do them all the time, although now I will because I'm so alarmed.
Right.
Question about how much calcium to add. I still haven't used it. I got it about a month ago.
Yes, well, with this business about the deterioration of the bone because of your gingivitis has turned into a bone gingivitis. That's what's happened. And I'm saying it could be spirochetes, so it is, it is something to be concerned about. And what were you asking me?
About our eye calcia. Is that what it's called? I don't have it in front of me.
We have to build up your calcium. And so if you're not eating dairy, then you do need the 2 teaspoons a day of the Recalcia.
2 teaspoons, okay. That's what I needed to do. Now, can that also go through the skin, or do I have to swallow it? Because the Remag is much better for me on my skin, okay.
Oh, is it?
No.
Well, you can try both ways. We haven't heard people talking about Recalcia on the skin, but, I would definitely, with the Recalcia, Ruth, put, a half teaspoon at the least in an ounce of water and hold that in your mouth and swish it around. And that should help heal the tissues as well directly.
Okay. There's one last thing. I've been using the supplement, whatever it's called. I have it in front of me, the powder.
Restructure.
Restructure, but there is something in it that I can't handle. But I've used it anyhow, and I don't know whether to renew it. And I think it's agave because I am allergic to agave. Now, but I'm using it anyhow. See, I don't know quite how to proceed with that.
Well, what you do is you just use it every second day so that you don't get the daily buildup. So if you use it every second day, then your body sort of gets rid of any, sensitivity to it, and then you use it again. Try it that way. I mean, some people who are very sensitive to various things, they might use a product every third day, but you need that protein.
Okay, now the one last thing is, I was just listening to the, is that Ion talking about the RNA drops?
The RNA drops, yes it was,
Well, I'm only up to number 6 drops. And now it explains why every once in a while I get this feeling of happiness. And I thought, oh boy, this is wonderful being 92. Because I get these periods when, it's like and I walk around, and it's only sweet. 6 drops.
Well, you could probably do more, but just go up by one drop at a time because they can be pretty powerful. But yes, you just take some extra drops and start saying to yourself, okay, drops, you get to work on this so-called periodontitis. What a crazy name. Okay, so you direct them to take care of this gum and tooth problem, okay?
Okay, after all, I like the idea of the ascension.
Yeah, ascension drops. Oh, man. Okay, my dear.
Thank you, my darlings.
You're so welcome. Adios and aloha.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ruth. Thanks for calling
in. There she is.
Yes, here I am. I'm here. Well, we have a lot of questions on the chat line. People are just whipping them in. So I'm trying to keep up with everything that we haven't asked yet today, but we've got callers holding too. So let me get to a couple of these questions that are a little far back, Carolyn. A couple questions. What to do if I'm feeling depressed while still taking Remag and Remite? Realign is methylated and I get anxiety from it.
Yeah, that's what about RNA drops? Did she or he say anything about RNA drops?
No, he didn't, but I've never heard of Realign doing that. How would that be?
Well, there are some methylation issues that some people can't take certain B vitamins.
Oh,
we've known that. Right. And, fortunately, they're few and far between. But, what we do in the depression end of things, we don't say we treat depression because that's not something you want to treat over the Internet or over the phone. But we do send people to truehope.com for their multiple vitamin, mineral, amino acid supplement. And I guess I should say this because we were exploring lithium, low-dose lithium, Ginny and I, wondering if we'd add it to Remite, but we're not going to because, again, we're not in the business of treating depression. But if the deficiencies a person has are not treated by our Remag, Remite, RNA drops, and I would suggest this person be on RNA drops, and the Realign, and as this gentleman is saying he can't take the Realign, then we have to, to add something else, then we're not going to be selling lithium, but I will say to look at low-dose lithium as a potential treatment of mild to moderate depression. What more can you say about that, Ginny? Because I know you've consulted with people as well.
It does seem to help a lot of people. It's a lithium orotate that you're going to want to look for. It's 5 milligrams of elemental lithium. You only need about 15 to 25 a day, and you just start off with one and you build your dose. It's very inexpensive. You can get it online if you need a source for it. You can email us at support@RNA Reset, and we'll support you, and it does seem to support people when they use it. And I personally used it as well, and I think it's very good for adrenal cortisol issues as well. So, we can help you in that regard. The other thing, too, to this person who's writing in is if I'm feeling depressed while still taking Remag and Remite. I guess we also didn't say, Carolyn, that you've got to be on the therapeutic dose. And one of the things that happens, which is common, we talked about last week, is a lot of people think the formulas aren't working and they're just not taking the therapeutic quantities. So the protocol for depression is 2 teaspoons of Remag and 1.5 of Remite. Is that what you're recommending?
Well, for men who may weigh more, we're going up to 2 to 3 teaspoons of Remag and 1.5 to 2 teaspoons of Remite. You got to take that into consideration too.
Okay, very good. So, yeah, you've got the Remag, the Remite. Don't forget the sea salted water. don't forget to be getting your water in every day. Consider your RNA drops. And then if all those things are in play and you're still stumbling a little bit, go ahead and email me at support@rnareset.com, and we'll send you the kind of information about the lithium orotate, which is the best one probably to use. Okay, let's get a couple more of these questions in before we go. And now Debbie typed in and said, can you any help you can give me for teeth bone loss, excessively fast decay? The dentist wants to do an ultrasound of my mouth for $900, fillings for $300. I have 2 abscesses, no money, but I do have the RNA Reset bundle. And so I think, Debbie, hopefully you heard that the RNA drops, excuse me, are going to be your best bet. What do you think about that, Carolyn?
Right. Well, bone loss, decay, look at your calcium, using the Recalcia at the 2 teaspoons a day, swishing the RNA drops around in the mouth, flossing, floss, all those things are important. And, in the total biology sense, teeth are about grabbing, your ability to grab what you want. And this is sort of from the animal model that if your teeth aren't in place, you're not able to grab what you want or what you think you're worth in life. So looking at the whole picture there, this has sort of been a bit of a tooth radio show. Hopefully, Debbie, you got enough information that you can work with.
Very good. Excellent. Okay. And, Julie, our good friend Julie down in Texas, she's had great results with the Recalcia and the RNA drops with her teeth. I mean, she's done fantastic things. It's helped with her body. It's helped with her skin. It helped her bladder problems. All of her leaking is stopped. I mean, so there are great opportunities with that, too, with the Recalcia as well. She's been testifying about all these things. She's very good at sharing her testimonials. Okay, now let's see. Everybody sharing information. And let's see. Okay, here we go. Dr. Dean, what about the blood-thinning drugs that they insist people with AFib take to keep from having a stroke? I know you can't tell someone to take it or not, but I would like to hear someone like yourself and how you feel about it. I have been holding off, but they do push it and they scare you. I take nattokinase and vitamin E and fish oil for blood thinning and basically just quote-unquote hope that they work. But is there any proof that they work? Or where could I find some studies to make me feel better about the decision that I have made? Any help would be greatly appreciated. I take Remag and Remite right now with the small amount of metatoprolol for my AFib, still working on getting more magnesium up to 1.5 teaspoons of Remag and still symptomatic. But they are pushing me to take blood thinners, get an ablation, and I don't want them. My husband just recently got diagnosed with AFib also and may have to get cardioversion. He's taking Xarelto, but I refuse to take that. I can take care of myself. All right, so there's her statement.
I mean, look at that. Her husband just got diagnosed. It is pretty epidemic, it seems, and I think it's because of the ongoing horrible magnesium deficiency that people are suffering, and it affects the heart. But anyway, personally, if I had AFib, I would be doing the nattokinase, fish oil, vitamin E. They're keeping the studies under wraps. Japan apparently, because they make natto, N-A-T-T-O, apparently it's a very smelly food from soybeans, and it has enzymes in it that help keep the blood thin. But I haven't come across any Western studies about using nattokinase, etc. They just want it to be about the drugs. But when you think about what the heart's doing, it's mainly when the heart is fluttering away that the blood stops pumping out of your heart. And it's when the heart's fluttering that the blood will sort of won't move out of the heart, kind of stays there and has the potential to become a blood clot. And I don't know I know there is a risk of blood clots when you have AFib, but they really haven't identified, who's involved. I did put it in my newest edition of Magnesium Miracle, some of the criteria, and just because of age, they'll say you have to take a blood thinner, but they're not looking at people who are healthy at a certain age. Let me see if I can find the criteria for blood thinner, because what's happened is since they've got Xarelto and Plavix, these sort of newer blood thinners on top of picometer and warfarin, it's like they're trying to find people whose heart is in abnormal rhythm and forcing them to take these drugs because they think they're going to save lives. But the percentage of people who have these problems is, I'm not going to say it's very low. I think it's very low, but if you do get a stroke, if you have AFib, then that's 100% that's happened to you. So it puts doctors and me in a very difficult position. And allopathic doctors just take the position, well, take the drug, and then they're not culpable because they've told you to take the drug. I'm not coming up with the criteria easily, and I'm not really giving you an answer. I personally would just be on all the alternative blood thinners and drinking enough water that I didn't become dehydrated, and taking my Remag, which keeps the undissolved calcium in check so that it doesn't clot. So I guess that's the answer I can give you, and that if you get up to your 2 to 3 teaspoons of Remag, then you might not have the AFib at all, and you won't have to worry about taking the drugs. That is what we're trying to do, is get people to the magnesium saturation point where they no longer are at any risk for blood clots.
Very good. Excellent. Perfect words, Dr. Dean. All righty, let's go back to our phones. We're going to go to area code 601. Area code 601, you're on the line with Dr. Dean. Hello, good evening.
Hello. How are you tonight?
Good.
We're busy girls. We really are.
Where have you all been in my life?
Oh, why? Did you just discover us?
Yes, yesterday, a friend of mine.
Oh, my God.
I don't know where to start. I'm losing my eyesight. I'm sorry?
Yes. Somebody got to send us an email that you might be calling in.
Yes, this is Letty.
Hard for you to... yes, Letty, hi. Yes, and it would be hard for you to read things. Well, basically, what are your conditions that you're working on, Letty?
Well, there's several spots. The eyesight, which is supposedly retinopathy or something like that. I don't have the macular degeneration,
right.
And I don't have glaucoma. But my eyes, I can't hardly see any letters at all anymore, no matter what size. Some of the large ones I can still see. Then I think I have a thyroid problem, but of course when they do the test it's always fine. But my hair is thin on the head. I'm always cold. My temperature runs 96, 97. My skin on my legs is like an alligator. Gee, I don't even, and I'm gaining weight again, which is really setting me off. And then I have a problem with bladder. I can't seem to not go, and I'm going, the spans go from like 15 minutes to a half hour. Maybe I'd get an hour between going.
Okay.
So we can start
Do you
there.
have diabetes? Yeah.
They said I did, but
yeah.
I got off their
What?
meds for that and the high blood pressure. My A1C was 6.1. My blood pressure's been down to normal, like 122 over 60 in that area. So as far as their meds, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, the retinopathy, I mean, that's going to be caused by something. Did they say it was the diabetes that could have caused the retinopathy?
Well, they said that I had cataract surgery, and that's when we found the eye problems. And I wish to God I'd never gone to do that.
Yeah.
So, is there any hope?
Well, what we know, I mean, the fact that you've gotten your blood sugar better and your blood pressure better, that shows that you're trying. You're determined to get better. And what we see and hear from our people, and you can go on our radio show archives and listen, for hundreds of hours if you want. You don't have to read anything. You can listen to what we talk about on the radio show, etc., to understand basically what my thesis is we don't have enough minerals, and a lot of people also have yeast overgrowth. I don't know that you have that, but, if a person has high blood pressure, diabetes, that's usually magnesium deficiency. If you have, chill, coldness, hair thinning, temperature, that is thyroid. They're not going to diagnose that until it's completely gone. So we can use the minerals that I have in a product called Remite that will give you the 9 minerals to get your thyroid back. And then the thing about the eyes, the body wants to heal itself. So what we say is if you give it the building blocks, then it'll remember the DNA blueprint that God and nature made and start to get that back. I don't know if the cataract surgery, is a cause of the retinopathy. I don't know enough about the whole situation, but even so, the body wants to, get back to perfection. So with the eyes themselves, we do, I don't know that you can do this because of your eyesight, but, we get people to put a drop of RNA into some saline water and rinse the eyes with that. But I don't know if you'll be able to accomplish that.
I will do it somehow. I'll get somebody to do it for me. One other thing I did forget. In 2013, I contracted a flesh-eating bacteria. I almost died on the table, or I may have died. I don't know. I was in intensive care for 5 days and in the hospital 10 weeks. And they flooded me with antibiotics, of course.
I see. Yeah.
So I don't know if that has anything to.
Yeah, then you do have yeast overgrowth. So that's another thing that we can help you with. That do you know anything about yeast overgrowth, Letty? Have you heard about that?
Yes. I used to have 2 health food stores. I've forgotten a lot because I'm 71 now, and I'm not doing it every day anymore. I've forgotten a bunch, but
yeah, it'll come back. Well, then what you'll do is you'll start listening to our radio shows. You can call and talk to Melody Rose or Ginny on the phone when you have questions. But basically, it's just following the protocol that we lay out and taking the products. We are pretty standard about what we do with every condition, so it's pretty easy to follow. And then the yeast business, then to avoid sugar, gluten, and dairy, basically, so you don't feed yeast. And what the yeast toxins can be doing is they can be irritating the eye, they can be irritating the bladder, they can be irritating the thyroid. So perhaps when you went on the diet to help your diabetes, it cut back on some of your yeast, but maybe you just have to be more strict. So that's what I see in your future. Okay?
Okay. Just call Melody Rose tomorrow and order the products? That's
right. Perfect.
Oh.
And
okay.
When Melody Rose has a question, she'll ask Ginny or me, and we'll get you an answer. We're there for you.
God bless you. I appreciate all your help. Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you for calling in. And we'll get all that health food store knowledge back up on your cranium, in short order. Don't you worry.
Would they have helped someone with Alzheimer's?
Yes. Well, we have a lot of our customers are aged 50 to 70, and then they'll have their elderly parents, and the stories we hear of them being put on our minerals and just perking right up are just heartwarming. It's amazing.
I just lost my husband to that in November.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh,
I wish to God I'd have known, but it was his time, I guess. Well, thank you so much.
We have that. Okay, sweeties. Thank you so much for you calling in.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye now.
All right. Very nice. Thank you. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on Achieve Radio. Again, if you wanted to talk with Dr. Dean this evening, 602-666-6027 is the phone number to call. And if you've already called the phone and you're on wanting to talk to Dr. Dean, you've got to hit *5 on your keypad. *5 will raise your hand in the studio and let me know you have a question or comment, and then I will put you on with her as soon as your call is the next in line in the queue. And we're going to go on to the great state of Indiana, area code.
No, we aren't. No,
we aren't?
No.
Oh.
I got to do a quick couple of I stopped you with forward momentum. Just a quick couple of mailbags we do have to do because they came in today after your blog.
Okay, very good.
A woman says, I have a bad case of chronic fatigue / sleep disorder, and I've found a great deal of relief through Remag. However, I've seemed to have hit a plateau. My Remite intake is below what it should be, so I was wondering if this would be a good time to increase it. Could my health problems be due to an overall mineral deficiency that's not necessarily magnesium? So, a couple things there, and this is just fine-tuning. The Remag for chronic fatigue and sleep disorder, it's usually 2 to 3 teaspoons. If you take 2 teaspoons through the day, take a whole teaspoon at night, that type of thing, to really break this cycle. Remite should be 1.5 to 2 teaspoons. And, nothing is just magnesium. I mean, that's why we have the Remite product and the B vitamins in our Reline, and that's another thing to think of. It'd be great if it was just Remag. A lot of people find that Remag is all they need, but like this woman is saying, she's hit a plateau. So take enough Remag. Take Remite 1.5 to 2 teaspoons. Look at the Realign for detoxing them for the methylated B vitamins. The Recalcia if you're not eating dairy, that could be important too. And the RNA drops and the Restructure for getting your protein and getting your cells perfected and breaking through that mind-body disconnect. The next quick mailbag is, I have irregular heartbeats at times. I take metoprolol, that's a beta blocker, which I prefer not to take, brackets. And I have been taking ionic magnesium, 2.5 mils daily for almost a year now, but I still have irregular heartbeats. What do you think? Well, I think Remag is much more concentrated than ionic magnesium. It's much more powerful, and the dosage would be 5 mils is a teaspoon. We go by teaspoons, and the dosage could be 1 to 3 teaspoons if it's just magnesium. But what I would say is to get our AFib book and read through the AFib book, because then you'll learn that it might not just be Remag, as the other mailbag person was deciding. And you want to look at the triggers for arrhythmias and make sure you're not drinking the coffee and alcohol or eating a lot of food to stimulate yeast overgrowth. All those things trigger arrhythmia. So the AFib book is still your best option. And I do want to read Ryan's email quickly, Ginny. I'm just coming across that now. Ryan, one of our wonderful customers, he said, I just now got off the phone with my father. For the longest time, I've been nagging him to go to your website and buy your products. He kept saying, I'll do it when I have a chance. I don't think he really understood how awesome they are. Finally, I got fed up. I ordered them for him. Well, my dad regularly sees his life coach is really into living organically and into nutrition. Yesterday, my dad took his products to took his Dr. Dean products to the life coach, and this is basically what she said. Wow, I hardly ever approve of the supplements people take. This is really, really great stuff. Where did you get this from? She raved about the ability of the body to absorb your products, and his life coach also advised him to take a whole teaspoon of Remag, specifically right before bed, because she said that the body would absorb it better at night. So, Dr. Dean and Ginny, thank you for all you do. God bless. So that was very sweet from Ryan. Okay, Ginny.
Wait a minute. Hold on just a second.
Yeah, but Carolyn, how did the person decide that they were good? Did she take them herself?
I don't know. A lot of these coaches, they have machines or they muscle test or whatever. It sounded to me like she did some sort of testing on it.
Yeah, maybe you could tell us, Ryan, if you're listening, find out what is the basis of her judgment. We're not having guessers approve our products.
Fakes. We don't want fake news.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah, Ginny, can you email Ryan sometime and ask him?
Yes, I will do that. I certainly can. Yep, I certainly can. And I think, really honestly, Bob, just read our label. It's so intelligent. I mean, anybody who has an education and just reads our label is like, holy cow, these people know what they're talking about. The structure and our label is an FDA-approved label, and the structure and function of magnesium in the cells is so clearly outlined on our label. And people email us all the time with these products that they're taking. And I look at the label, and I'm just like, there's no way this is an FDA supervised product. I don't know what kind of facility it's being made in, but I just know from what we had to go through just with our label alone that there's no way they're compliant. So just on that principle, I'm like, well, and then, there's all these other issues that come up. So, she could have just been very intelligent and looked at our label and said, wow, this stuff is really on track. It's a concentration. It's very well laid out. The description is very clear, and the protocol is very complete, and she could have just known it from our label. But I will ask Ryan, and he'll know. He'll find out for us.
So my eloquence persuaded her.
Yeah. You don't even know what our label looks like.
I've never seen one. I've never seen any of these bottles I take.
Bob, will you read the label and approve it? I don't know. What do you mean? What do you mean approve it? I have nothing to do with this company.
Oh my gosh, that's so hilarious. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. Okay, we continue. All right. Yes, and also I just have to give a quick shout out, Carolyn, to our good friend Sandy in Connecticut, who has sent us both these great cookie kits. And also her Yes, Sandy, and her cookies have been so well received that actually we keep getting requests for the recipe. People are making it on their own. They're doing their own little modifications according to what they, allow in their diet and stuff like that. And people are really loving these cookies. The Restructure fat-free protein cookies. If you haven't gotten the recipe yet from me, just email support@RNA Reset and we'll send it to you. But Sandy's an absolute dear, and she has been, in the kitchen helping us make these great things, and they've all been very delicious. So we just want to send out a big squeeze to her as well and say thank you, Sandy. We've got great we have people making us lights, making candies, doing baking cookies, and, writing testimonials. Our little flock here is just so active and busy, sharing and running around getting their parents on the protocols, which is so important because people, once your health gets better, then the next thing you do is you start thinking about your family right away. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to see anybody. Michael Brown's writing songs.
No, he made 6 videos illustrating the different sections of my tiny note chart that predicted all these products back in 1995. So my chart can be, the new video versions of the content of charts are now available at my Facebook page.
Very nice,
come and hear Bob's radio show so that he doesn't have to talk on my radio show.
Yes. That's true. I must talk somewhere.
Yes.
I am a cow that needs to be milked every day.
Yes, that's correct. Okay, now the truth is really splayed out for everybody to hear. All right, that's very true. Okay, shall we keep going, Carolyn? Phone calls or mailbag? What are we doing?
Phone call, please.
Okay. All right, back to our wonderful person in Evansville, Indiana. Hello. You're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Hi, my name is Tara, and
Hello.
I had a question about your magnesium.
Yeah.
I wanted to give you a little bit of background real quick. I have interstitial cystitis. I've had it for 13 years, and I have very painful muscles, especially in my calves. They're really tight and sore, just even the touch, and it causes foot pain that I've had for about 6 years. And I thought that I was magnesium deficient for quite some time, and I've tried magnesium glycinate, and I've not had the diarrhea or anything, but I've had stomach upset with it, but I've never gotten any better with it. So I was getting ready to start your product, so I thought I would get the RBC magnesium test done. And I just got the results back today, and it was a 5.9, and I thought it would have been a lot lower than that since I'm having all of these symptoms and problems. Do you think that should be, that maybe it's not magnesium deficiency?
Yeah, I would go by your symptoms, Tara, more than the blood test, because the blood test it's not as accurate as we would like. It's an approximation of what's going on. But 5.9, it does look good. It's in the high normal. What you would still go for the Remag. It's going to be much better absorbed than the magnesium glycinate. It's going to get right into the cells. It's going to help release the muscle cramping. As for the interstitial cystitis, that tends to be yeast overgrowth and as well as magnesium deficiency in my experience. And magnesium deficiency in the sense that calcium is allowed to build up a little bit in the urethra and sometimes in the bladder wall. And the Remag can really help that, but we also find for bladder problems that the Recalcia is very helpful because the 100% absorbed calcium will actually start bumping out calcium that's been building up in soft tissues. It sounds a little counterintuitive, but that's what happens. But first, though, I'd like to ask you, are you eating dairy, or do you think you're getting enough calcium in your diet?
Yes, I am. I don't drink milk, but I do eat like cheese and stuff like that. Okay. So I do eat dairy almost every day.
Well, and then I'm going to say that might be a problem in terms of the interstitial cystitis being caused by yeast overgrowth. Have you looked into that?
No, I have not.
Do you know what I mean by yeast overgrowth?
Yeah, I do. And I've heard you talk about your protocol on there.
Right. So maybe if you go to yeastconnection.com, it's just a static website, but it has a yeast questionnaire on there, and fill out the long questionnaire, Dr. Crook's Candida yeast questionnaire, then see whether or not you score high on that, because in my experience dealing with people with interstitial cystitis, it is very important to get the yeast under control. The yeast toxins can irritate the bladder. So that, there's toxicity factors and then magnesium deficiency factors that I've come across. It's like the magnesium deficiency will allow even the smooth muscles around the urethra and the bladder wall to go into spasm and be part of the pain cycle.
Okay, so you think it might be a good idea for me to cut out dairy and just take the recalcium?
Yeah, I think so, because what you find with dairy is it's lactose is the dairy sugar, and any sort of sugars feed yeast. So it's just a matter of going back, looking at yeast, reading about yeast information, see if it makes sense, and you'll find the interstitial cystitis is listed as one of the side effects of yeast overgrowth. How old are you, Tara? I don't think
I'm 36.
Oh my, you're so young for all this. Well, what do you think happened 13 years ago for you to get into interstitial cystitis?
Well, I had a really big stressor right around that time. My mom died of breast cancer. I don't know other than that.
Yeah, well, that's a huge stress, and what happens under severe stress is the body loses a lot of magnesium, and you can set up a dynamic. And the thing about the bladder in total biology is that the bladder sets our territory. Like when you look at the animal model in total biology, dogs, for example, they'll just go around and pee on their property to make sure everybody knows that who owns it. And when you lose your territory, then the bladder can go into some reaction. Losing your mother is a big loss of territory, and everything that came with that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So let's
go
ahead.
I was going to ask you about the methylated B vitamins. I tried to take those, but it's very hard on my bladder. I take a methylated B vitamin, but I can only take it a couple of weeks at a time before I get severely irritated in the bladder from them. And I'm really sure I need them because I'm having some other issues that I think are related to that, but I don't know what to do about that.
Well, yeah, that's sort of the inflammation and irritation of the bladder that hopefully we're going to be turning around with the yeast treatment and the Remag and the Remite as well, because the other minerals are going to be important to heal the bladder. So I guess in the meantime, I'd like you to try the Grown by Nature B vitamins. Grownbynature.com. They have food-based B vitamins, low potency. They're not directly methylated. They're food-based. So hopefully that shouldn't be too hard on your bladder, okay?
Okay, and is the restructure, since it's dairy, going to be okay for me?
Well, the whey part, the whey we use is from New Zealand, so it doesn't have antibiotics or anything. It is casein-free, and the amount of lactose in it is per serving 1/10 of a teaspoon. So it's not going to be a problem. And we call our Restructure a yeast-free product.
Okay, and then your RNA drops, I've heard you say, are a little bit acidic. Do you think that would be okay for me? Is acidity a problem?
Right. Well, what you're doing with the RNA drops is just putting a drop under your tongue. So you let it sit there and let the saliva dissolve it and hold it in your mouth for several minutes before you swallow it. And and you can also, take it. We don't like people to eat or drink for 15 minutes before or after, but if you feel it's a little, and it should not be acidic on your stomach, but if you feel it's irritating, just drink some water after you swallow the drops, okay?
Okay, great. Okay, well, thank you very much, Dr. Dean. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, and I appreciate you calling in, Tara. I know you've been through a lot, and I'm happy to hear that you'll work with us so that we can turn all this around, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Bye, hon.
Bye.
Oh, what a sweet girl. Yes, now call us back. Yeah,
yes.
And you
keep in touch. Yeah, I forgot to say that we're the customer service is here to answer all your questions, because we've all been through this. We've all either had these symptoms or have customers, or I've had patients who've had these symptoms, so we know that they can be turned around. Okay, perfect.
All right. Excellent. All right. More phone calls. Let's press on to area code 252, Rocky Mount, North Carolina. You're on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Yes. Good afternoon. Good evening, Dr. Dean and Jenny. I hope you all are doing well.
Yeah, we're great. What's your first name?
My name is Sydney. Sydney.
Hi, Sydney. Go ahead.
How are you? Okay, my question, interesting. I had the same symptoms as the young lady who just called in, interstitial cystitis.
Yeah.
And I'm going through the total body reset. Just finishing my first month. Also, I take spironolactone because I have high blood pressure as well. So I was trying to understand some of the same things. You talked about the yeast infection, the yeast overgrowth. I'm not familiar with that, right? Is there some more information I can find out about that? I made a note about the yeastconnection.com. I will go there and fill out that information.
Right, Sydney. Well, I'll give you a brief overview. First of all, how old are you?
63.
63. How long have you had interstitial cystitis?
About 4 years, 4 or 5 years.
Do you know what triggered it at all? What happened that got you there?
I have no idea. I know that they treated me for prostatitis with antibiotics for about 30 years. And finally, the last 4 or 5 years, they found out what I really had. So my urologist apologized to me for, all these years not getting it right. So I'm not sure how I got it.
Well, I know, because you just told me. And what you'll find out about yeast overgrowth is it's caused by antibiotics. So the antibiotics you took would have killed off all the bacteria, whether it was in and around your prostate or your intestines. And then when there's a vacuum created by killing all the good and bad bacteria, the yeast will grow. We all have some yeast in our intestines. It's natural to be there, but it will overgrow and kind of take over and march up from your large intestine into your small intestine under the influence of antibiotics. So they set you up, and then the toxins from the yeast, they'll start causing inflammation and irritation in various parts of the body, in your case in the bladder. So what you'll do is email Ginny or Melody Rose at support@rnareset.com, and then they'll send you our FAQ on all about yeast overgrowth, what to listen to, what to read, what to do, the diet, and my recommendations, so that you can, study it and see if it makes sense to you. Of course, that has to come into play, but you may find that some of your symptoms, even blood pressure, can be caused by being toxic with yeast overgrowth. And then, my main thesis about being mineral deficient as well. So,
okay.
Yeah, you came to the right place, and you heard you heard Tara right before you. I mean, that's another setup.
Oh, okay. And the Renew, I received that today. So instead of the drops, does that replace the drops, or does it complement the drops, or how should I use that?
It complements the drops. I'm going to get Ginny to talk about Renew in the last couple of minutes here, because she loves Renew, and she'll tell you about it. Okay, Ginny?
Yes, and the thing about Renew that what were you, when you ordered it, what were you thinking that you would like it to accomplish for you?
Well, it was talking about, I thought it was a replacement of the drops, and when I heard Dr. Carolyn talk a few minutes ago, I do know sometimes I have to make sure I have food on my stomach, because I do have a peptic ulcer before I can take it. So I always make sure I have food. And then I try to get at least 5 to 10 drops on one time. But that's over time. That's been over the last 30 days. So that's what I was wondering. Could it replace that or complement it?
Okay. It doesn't replace the RNA drops, and you're not going to want to use them orally unless you had some kind of an issue with your gums or something in your mouth. So, but it can be used topically in addition to the RNA drops. And I'm just focusing kind of on that peptic ulcer thing, Carolyn. And wouldn't you say that that's also part of the yeast situation, just having that problem in his stomach? Yeah,
definitely.
Yes. So really, seriously, support@rnareset.com. Email me and ask for Ginny, and I'll remember you, and I will help you with the yeast protocol and what you need to do. But we can focus on that. And then with the Renew, we'll talk about that when we talk about everything else. How does that sound?
That sounds perfect. Thank you all very much. And I'm glad I found you as well. Thank you all.
Thanks, Sydney. One thing, while Ginny was saying that, I just Googled peptic ulcer and yeast overgrowth, and the first thing that came up, studies show that over 54% of peptic ulcers are due to fungal Candida albicans infections, and Candida albicans is the yeast we're talking about, Sydney. So you're going to have a whole bunch of new information that's going to blow your mind at what what you've gotten into these past 30 years taking your antibiotics. And I'm glad they apologized, but that's really harsh what happened to you. And anyway, we'll do our best to support you in every way we can.
Thank you very much.
Yep, absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Just get a hold of me, Sydney, and we'll take care of it. Absolutely, 100%. Oh, my Lord. I'm just like, that poor man. Oh, my Lord. Okay, we've got just 3 minutes to try to get our last phone call of the night. Patiently waiting, the great state of Georgia, area code 706. Are you there?
I wanted to make him a protein powder shake. I didn't know it had it. It's still good, isn't it? Uh-oh.
Hello? I am calling you.
Hello,
You're on speaker. You're on. Can you pick up the phone?
Hello.
Okay, we're going to have you call back next week, though, because we've got some final last-minute tidying up to do. Carolyn, here's a question that came in through the InQuick. I have been diagnosed with cervical dystonia in 2015. They say this is a neurological condition. I I have had PRP, TROT. What does that mean? Do you know?
PRP, it might be some sort of injection. I'll look it up.
Okay. I went to a neurologist for Botox, went to a spinal surgeon, nothing really wrong with the bones. MRI done in April 2017 was unremarkable. Another doctor said this could be an endocrine issue. I did a lot of exercise, and I think exercise caused this. Can this be cured?
Okay,
Kevin in
so
Ontario.
cervical dystonia is the neck muscles being kind of distorted. I've written about it. It's in the Magnesium Miracle. It's also caused, it used to be called here spasmodic torticollis. You might have heard of torticollis. Painful condition in which your neck muscles contract involuntarily, causing your head to twist or turn to one side. And you can sort of damage your cervical vertebrae, I imagine, to cause this, but I really think it's a magnesium deficiency that's really gotten, really kind of solidified. So I just say to take Remag. It's and spray Remag when we get a Remag lotion, slather it with Remag, and just let us know what other conditions you're dealing with, if you're on any meds, etc. But cervical dystonia is definitely magnesium deficiency that hits the muscles and the nerves. And there we are, another fabulous
And there we
show.
are. Okay,
Wow.
excellent, wonderful show, great evening. Thank you for everybody for participating. Thank you, Bob, for your generous contribution.
You're welcome, Janie. Thank you for your ongoing contribution. Very well.
All right. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, listeners. It was a great show. And thank you, callers. I never do say that. The callers make this show. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AchieveRadio.
Very, very wonderful. And if your labyrinth of your mind will allow it, all is available to you, unabashedly. How do I levitate? How do I end up in these other worlds? How do I get back? How do I try out new and exciting things that may have fear in this reality? I can try out somewhere else, see if I like it or not, and then come back and engage it here. There's only now, but that now includes